We are rolling now. Counting us down. 3, 2.
You're listening to Missing Out with Lex Michael and Tauri J. Let's start the show.
Hey guys, welcome back to Missing Out. I'm Tauri J.
I'm Lex Michael.
And if this is your first time listening, what we do here is we introduce each other to different media, whether it be movies, music, television, spoken word, books, experiences, things that have built us up as people, and we hope that in sharing it, it builds you up. We are the retrospective that is introspective.
All of my experiences are media and vice versa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
The medium is the message.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. Long live the new flesh.
I don't understand any of this.
I'm going to make you, pretty soon I'm going to make you watch Videodrome and you'll understand all of it.
Okay.
Well, the medium is the message. That's a real thing, but long live the new flesh is a Videodrome thing.
Got it. Okay. So today we're talking about Howard the Duck from 1986, which is the year that I was born, the year of our savior, which is me.
So you were born the same year as Marvel movies. Not the Marvel movies that we know today, certainly, but the first big screen Marvel venture.
Yeah.
We've come some distance since then.
A little bit.
I like to think of this as the real end game.
It is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an Ouroboros. It all comes back to Howard the Duck eventually. That's how they beat Thanos. I saw that movie. That's how they beat Thanos. Is Howard's just like, give me that guitar, and he rocks out and shit. And Thanos is just like, yo, if I had found you when I was younger, I wouldn't be so angry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'm done. I'm laying down my sword. Yo, hand me a guitar. Let's fucking jam, Howard.
Right, yeah.
Let's jam. And all the Avengers are like, the fuck is happening?
And then Rocket's like, it's what Quill did. It's like the dance-off, except it's with music.
I like your Rocket. It's perfect. It's dead on.
JK, none of that were spoilers for Endgame if you haven't seen it yet.
But wouldn't it be amazing if one person sitting in traffic was like, oh shit, that's what they do in that movie? That's amazing. I got to see that shit right now. Fucking takes their car, hard turns to the right, crashes off the overpass, just drives right to the theater, barges in, sits down on somebody.
Yeah. I mean, well, because most theaters have reserved seating and all that
Right,
jazz.
just sits down on somebody. And of course, security comes in immediately, but he grabs onto the seat. And so for 3 straight hours, security is trying to pry his hands off of the seat. And he's just like, no, for 3 hours.
And he just starts singing the Howard the Duck theme.
Howard the Duck! Like, laughing.
The ushers are like, we're going to give you all a refund. We understand this isn't the preferred viewing
and
experience.
the rest of the audience is just like, shh, and they're fixated on the screen. It's like it's not taking them out of it at all.
Oh, man.
It's a good movie.
It is.
It's very captivating.
Yeah, totally.
So this movie, though.
This movie, I brought in, this was actually one of my favorite movies as a kid, which is funny because it is also like one of the biggest nightmare movies I had as a kid because of the demon creatures.
Yeah, there's like 3 Rancors at the end coming out of a portal.
Yeah, and I would like have legit nightmares about those creatures because they were scary. Also,
I feel like Demon Jeffrey Jones is even scarier than because like now coming to it, because I'd actually not seen this movie in its entirety, and the big sections of it that I have seen, I saw a very long time ago, and they had so faded from my memory that it completely context free. I had no idea how to interpret what I remembered. Seeing it now, I was just very taken with jumping right to the end because you brought up the Rancor monsters. Just very taken with the stop motion puppetry.
Yeah.
Of it all. Mm-hmm. I get that we can do so much more now with CG. I get it. And some CG is very pretty. I miss practical stop motion, like where you could tell it's a miniature that they blew up to that size. Mm-hmm. I miss that.
Well, yeah, I feel like this movie had kind of the same effects aesthetic as like Ghostbusters, where a lot of the
very
like
much.
blasts and energy is like hand drawn like animation, which is really cool.
Yes.
It like adds an extra like now our effects are like CG, and so they try to put in a layer of like realism. It's like, yes, if someone had fire around them, it would look like this. But no, in that phase or that era, like if someone had fire around them, it was just like cartoon fire, and it would just be like blazing from their hands, just like a little aura, and you're like, yep, that's how it works.
That's exactly what fire looks like.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's dangerous, is if it looks like that. Because if
Right.
it doesn't look like a cartoon, perfectly safe.
Exactly. Just like real fire. When I see one in the forest, I'm like, that's not cartoonish, and so I run into it.
Yeah, not dangerous at all. Let's set up camp here.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking at each other like, no, what's happening? Tauri, wait.
Yeah.
And you're just running. You're fucking booking it and shit.
And it's weird though, because like every time I do that, I wake up in a hospital and I have no idea why. Like maybe I just don't bring enough water.
But also you wake up without any visible burns or scarring whatsoever. And everybody's wondering how you're the only survivor of this disaster.
Right.
And then Samuel L. Jackson with his fragile bones tracks you down and is like, I've been searching for you. Comic books. That's what that movie's about.
It's exactly what it's about.
And that's exactly how he talks in it. Mm-hmm. Look at my tall hair. Comic books.
I like to imagine that comic books is his. You know how every rapper has like some kind of signature like phrase or sound or thing that they make.
Like how Will Smith is like, ha,
is
ha,
like
ha,
yeah
ha, all
Woo!
the time.
Yeah. That. But his is comic books.
And, like he puts the emphasis on books.
Yeah.
Right? So I just got distracted by the image of Sam Jackson with the tall hair just sitting there muttering to himself, comic books. Comic books. And like somebody comes into the art gallery and they're like, hello? And he's just like, comic books. And they're like, all right, I'm gonna shop somewhere else.
Yeah, and then Rocket jumps down and is like, "Hey, he's telling like he also understands comic book language in addition to I am Groot's, and so he's like, oh, he's trying to tell you this is a classic piece by Alan Moore."
Alan Moore didn't draw them.
Doesn't matter. That's why it's so classic. It's like a stick figure that also has super offensive language all around it. And it's just problematic.
So this feels like it was drawn by a grumpy person.
So yeah, I feel like I've forgotten all of the middle section. Like I remembered Howard coming to Earth, and I remember that that Leah Thompson existed, and then I remember all of the monster stuff. I didn't remember anything that happened in between there, which was an interesting thing to come into now as an adult. And I realized also how inappropriate this movie is for children.
It's incredible how aggressively it changes tone and how quickly.
Yes. 'Cause like they're like duck tits all over the place.
Right, one of the first things you see is duck boobs, which also anatomically raises a whole bunch of questions because that ain't how ducks work. But then again, I suppose you could argue nothing in the movie is indicative of how ducks work.
Right, exactly. They're just like they're ducks, they're duck humans. So like, you know, I assume they have regular human penises instead of the like corkscrew that they usually have. I also assume that like they have like traditional nipples, even though like ducks don't breastfeed in the way that mammals do. So I imagine it's like how male nipples are, and that they're like they should have evolved away, but they just still exist.
Sure.
Yeah.
We do establish, I guess by implication, he must have something resembling a human junk area.
Yes.
He's got, homeboy's literally got a condom in his wallet.
Yeah,
like
and
a
it's
person
like
condom.
Unpackaged.
Yeah.
And it looks linty. Gross.
Possibly used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I'm gonna save this for later, and like rolled it back up.
I'm gonna do experiments with it. I'm a duck scientist now. That's all they do.
Yep.
That's the only field of duck science. Speaking of duck science, right? We're talking about how these interplanetary ducks evolved the way they did. I was very tickled by the fact that Tim Robbins had an evolutionary chart for these space ducks just ready to go.
Well, technically, it was the regular evolutionary chart, and he was like, just imagine it over the one that's already there. So, like, it was all in the mind's eye, baby.
Nah, I'm a literalist now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
This movie doesn't make logical sense, so I hated it.
Oh, damn. Well, that sucks for you, buddy, because it was delightfully 80s. It had all the aesthetic flair of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
I could see that as a point of comparison, especially with the animatronic head of the lead character.
Yeah.
It does feel very
And
TMNT.
it ended with a song about the main character, same way that Turtles 2 did, where they had the ninja rap.
That was the one with the rap, okay.
Yes, it was.
Secret of the Ooze.
You know, the far superior, tonally consistent second turtle
It's
movie.
the Godfather Part 2 of Turtle Ninja movies.
Exactly.
I gotta go back and check those out. I haven't seen any of those movies in a very long time.
From what I remember, 1 was great, 2 was bonkers, and then 3 they were just like, let's throw everything out the window. There's time travel.
That's right, there's a time
and
travel one.
Yeah. So yep, third one was so bad that when they created TMNT, the CG animated movie,
Yes.
they decided it was going to take place after 2 and ignore everything that happened in 3.
I did see that TMNT, and I don't remember that either.
It was great.
I don't even
I
remember
liked
it
it a
sharing.
lot.
I don't remember it sharing continuity. Like, that's how little I remember it.
I mean, it's minimal. It just takes place, like, it basically takes place after Splinter is gone. And so where everyone was sad in the third one about Splinter being gone, and they travel in time, this one, it actually explores how they react to having to be the new leaders. And so Raphael decides to become a vigilante.
I remember that. And doesn't he
yeah.
fight Leonardo at one point?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's epic and it's great. TMNT, guys, highly recommended. It's very fun. I wish they would have done like a CG or like an animated version of Howard the Duck. I mean, the thing is it bombed really badly in theaters.
Everyone hated it from the sound of it, and it dinged a couple careers. Like, Leah Thompson was afraid she wasn't going to get work, so she just jumped into the next movie she could get.
Yeah.
Which I think was Some Kind of Wonderful.
Maybe.
Which John Hughes wrote, so you could do worse.
Yeah. I only know her from this movie and Back to the Future.
Yes, Leah Thompson, if you don't know the name, she is Lorraine, Marty's mother, in those films.
Foxy in both of them, though. Yum, yum.
I do remember... Sorry, I'm still on Turtles, man. I remember in the first Turtle movie, you see their origin, right? You see, like, when Splinter finds them.
Right.
And I'm sure I wouldn't feel this way now, but the image, which is probably not even accurate, the image that I have in my head of the, like, baby turtles that he finds is fucking haunting.
Yeah.
Just
they're all animatronic and weird.
It's upsetting. They're very, very upsetting looking in my head.
Probably. Fun fact, I don't know if you know this about the Ninja Turtles. This is a Ninja Turtle podcast now, guys. But they are supposed to take place in the same universe as the Punisher, or no, as Daredevil.
Daredevil, yes.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the original Turtles comics, their origin is tied into Daredevil's origin, right? Like the same hazardous waste material that
gave him
blinds
his
Matt
eyes,
Murdock, is also responsible for creating the Turtles.
Yeah.
I did know that.
So fun fact.
It's always fun to be reminded.
Yeah. This is for everyone at home. Everyone who's not a giant fucking nerd.
And now they hang out with Batman a whole bunch.
Yeah, as they should. which is weird. But
they all got ninja skills.
that's true.
Yeah.
I just wish that they had given Howard the Duck a second chance. Like a lot of what I feel this movie's failure is because it just didn't know what it was, and it never like congealed how like in any one direction. Like they were like, do we want to be a raunchy adult oriented thing? Do we want to be a detective thing? Do we just want to be a fish out of water? Like,
right.
What do we want to be? And like they had so many people audition for Howard, and they had so many people audition for Beverly.
They had people like John Cusack and Jason Alexander, I think, auditioned to be the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it just never really picked a direction and was just like, we're a generic 80s movie.
Right. And the source material, the Steve Gerber comics, way more noirish, way more satirical. And I believe originally that was the intention for the movie. And then all of that got stripped away.
Yeah.
And as you say, it doesn't feel like they settled on one thing to put in its place.
Right. Which is a bummer because, like, yeah, the original Howard the Duck character, though he looks like Donald Duck, has a lot more going for him. He is like a hardline detective, and he is very like hardcore. I was trying to find a cool hardcore duck pun, but there was nothing there. Nope. Yep, you're thinking about it.
I'm trying.
It's hard. But and so like if they had if this was made a little bit later, and they were able to have a little bit more of a like, I don't know, Dick Tracy feel. I don't remember when Dick Tracy came out. I want to say it was like the early 90s. I think maybe if it was made around that time, they could have capitalized on that feeling.
Yeah.
And they could have just had it be a duck, but Dick Tracy. Duck Tracy, if you will.
I like it.
Yeah.
It sells itself.
I think that's actually a character from Darkwing Duck.
Now we're going to get sued.
I don't care.
Like, you could have pled ignorance, and now that you've said that, they know that you know, and you transgressed anyway.
Well, come at me, bro. Kill me. Do it. I don't care. Yeah. If you try, I'll just duck. Yeah, you feel it.
And then you very quietly hear pew pew, and you're like, "Why does my head hurt?" And you turn around and you see Michael Ironsides making finger pistols at you and shit. Scanned you. Boom. All right. It's what we call a callback.
Nice.
It's a very indulgent callback, as I am calling back to ourselves.
Uh-huh. Well, that's how callbacks work. It'd be weird if you called back to something that like was unrelated. You're like, haha, this is a callback to an episode of How Did This Get Made that you may or may not have heard. Ooh, baby.
I'm not sorry.
So yeah, I just wish it was more successful. This was such a failure that Lucas, he staked like the financial security of his company on its success, which I guess time has shown that it was for the best.
Yes.
But he ended up having to sell his like CGI branch of his company, which ultimately became Pixar.
Yes. Which did ultimately, yes. A lot of people don't know that Pixar was once basically an arm of Lucasfilm.
Right.
And yes, that I think worked out. Toy Story 4! Forky! Forky's my dude!
I didn't see what?
Forky, dude. Come on. You don't know Forky?
No.
You're not about that Forky life?
I'm not.
He's like a spork with googly eyes and pipe cleaners for hands that I guess a kid made, and he came to life.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be a toy. He just wants to be used to eat things and then get thrown in the trash and enter into blissful non-existence is what I gathered from the trailer.
He's like the Mr. Meeseeks of toys.
Yes. Actually, it sounds very much like that.
That sounds terrible. He's like, existence is a nightmare.
A little bit.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't seen the trailer. I avoided it because I want to go in real clean.
I'm looking forward to the Key and Peele plushie characters.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that Jordan Peele at one point said, I think I'm basically done with acting for a bit.
But
Toy Story 4, you say. Plushy character, you say. Pew, pew. Scan.
Though technically, with the way that animation happens, is he could have recorded the voices for it many years before he was famous.
Yes, he recorded the voices for Toy Story 4 in 1987.
Yeah.
The year after Howard the Duck. He was so inspired by Howard the Duck. He was like, let me go record lines for a film that won't happen for decades.
Yeah.
A sequel to 3 other films that likewise will not happen for some time.
Well, they were just wild lines from like a college project, and they're like, "All right, we're just gonna pull these. It's so good. We'll just animate around it. No need to give it context." And he just happened to be talking about penises, and he's like, "That's your Woody," and you're like, "Oh man, it works so well."
No.
Oh, did I ruin your childhood? Ah, ha, ha, ha. I feel like I'm gonna drop down the spoiler wall right now.
I feel like Howard the Duck is a pretty difficult movie to spoil.
I know, but if you're listening to this and you're like, I need to see this failure for myself, then this would be the time to go do that.
I will say, like you talked about, though, you wish that they had taken another run at it.
Yeah.
Right. And I do feel like for the longest time, Howard the Duck was synonymous with this movie, which was synonymous in a lot of people's minds with failure.
Right.
Almost a comedic level of failure of catastrophic mountain-like proportions.
Yeah.
But in the time since, I feel like the character's reputation, I feel like there's been a little bit of rehabilitation on the part of the reputation of that character. He's popped up in both Guardians of the Galaxy movies, voiced by Seth Green.
Yeah.
Wears a very nice suit. There were some Howard the Duck comics, I think, relatively recently that pretty well received from what I remember.
Yeah.
And of course now Hulu is doing 4 Marvel animated series, one of which is Howard the Duck, which is going to be co-run by Kevin Smith.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
They're doing it like Patton Oswalt's doing a MODOK show.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody's finally doing MODOK.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just
You've been waiting for MODOK.
I assumed somewhere in the back of my head that we'd never get MODOK in a movie, and as soon as they put like Ego the Living Planet in Guardians Volume 2, I went, maybe there's a chance.
Yeah.
And we made it through Endgame. It's spoilers. MODOK is not in Avengers End. That MODOK does not defeat Thanos for them.
Come on, man.
You ruined it for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go see it now at all.
Good. Tell me where your tickets were for.
And they need my business. But I feel like there's a mini Howard resurgence happening. And if that show proves successful, proves popular, then I feel like we can now have a very different conversation about the character of Howard the Duck.
I agree. Yeah, I think that, and I think that with Kevin Smith at the helm, like, it definitely will be entertaining at the very least.
I have no idea what that looks like, but I am looking forward to it.
I mean, I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be referential, and I wonder if it will I assume it'll have its own continuity. Like, it won't be any reference to like the MCU or anything like that.
Likely not the MCU, but they're doing 4. They're doing Howard the Duck, they're doing MODOK, and a couple others that I cannot remember at the moment, but they are all going to cross over.
Okay. So then basically he'll be able to just help build their own universe, which I think will be really fun. It'll be he'll probably bring all his friends, minus Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, or maybe they'll have little bit parts. Who knows?
And Ben Affleck as Howard the Duck.
Hey, y'all, Brooklyn. No, where's he from? Boston? Boston.
Yep.
It's me, Boston Jones.
Boston
the
Jones. That's exactly how they sound there.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. I've been to Boston
It's
before.
like you're a native.
Yeah. See, guys, it's because I went to Harvard. I didn't. I hear it's real white there. But yeah, I think it'll be fun. I hope that they do lean into the detective aspect, and I assume that since it is Kevin Smith, he'll be able to have a little bit of freedom, and he won't have any like executive notes keeping him. I'm making hand gestures like I'm tightening a vice. He won't have any executives clamping down with the clamps. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Hard to say, right? Because it's technically still a Disney property.
Yeah.
And I would assume that they don't go for not Vice. They don't go for not the Vice.
Oh, okay. Well, they don't own Vice, so that's nice.
Yet.
That's true.
They're going to own everything. They're going to own this show before much longer.
That'd be cool.
That'd actually be pretty
Disney,
great.
please buy this show.
We will sell low.
Hell yeah. No, we won't. Bro, you gotta buy me out.
No,
if you want me to sell out, you gotta pay top dollar.
You sweet talker, man. Low for Disney is like in the high $400 million range.
Right, but I want them to know that I have like pride and stuff.
Nah.
You know?
Nah.
Yeah. They dig it. They love when you have pride.
Nah.
You know? They made a whole rock based on it.
Ugh.
Come on. You get it. You get it. But
your hubris will be the end of us all.
I mean, I think that now that Disney owns a bunch of different properties, like they're essentially keeping it within the range of the demographics. So things that are more like PG-13 are going to be allowed to be that. Like, I think that, like, because they understand where the lines are and how much they can get away with. So I think that, like, they have movies that have swearing, and they have movies with decapitations in it, and they have movies with, I don't know, butts.
It's true.
Yeah.
They do have butts in some of their films.
I mean,
well, too, Disney has owned Miramax forever, and through Miramax, because it's an offshoot. They don't have to release it under the Disney banner. You can push it a lot more. I'm wondering if they're going to keep Fox as a separate banner in the same way. Like, I think Feige was talking about Deadpool, and it's like, okay, well, now that you own that character, you're going to keep it R-rated, or you're going to Disney it up and whatnot. And Kevin Feige was basically like, look, that shit ain't broke, so we're not fixing it.
Yeah.
So I guess in a world where that's true, I suppose it's not outside the realm of possibility that we could get more duck boobs and duck condoms in this.
I don't need duck boobs and duck condoms. I do need, like, actual cigar chomping. I do need actual, like foul mouth ducks. Yeah.
No.
The biggest appeal of this movie to me is all of the puns. That's, to me, the highest appeal. I think it's probably why I like puns now.
Because of Howard the Duck?
Yeah.
You think you could trace a direct line back to this movie?
Hell yeah.
All right.
Splash dance.
Splash dance.
Splash. Oh. So, for people who haven't seen this movie, just a quick breakdown of what happens is Howard, sitting in his lonely living room, gets sucked through a time and space portal, and he goes through a series of apartments. Duck boobs appear, and then he ends up on our world. He gets drugged into a club that, like, these degenerates grab him, take him through this club, and then he later it helps thwart like a robbery of some sorts when Beverly, played by Leah Thompson, is being accosted by these other degenerates.
It's not explicitly clear what they're attempting to do here, but I assume it isn't nice.
Yes.
And she won't like it.
No, not at all. And he uses quack fu in order to defeat them. And then she gives him a place to stay and takes him to the local scientist in training / museum janitor, played by Tim Robbins,
who's given quite the performance.
Oh, he's going all out. He's an Oscar winner, right?
Not at the time.
Okay, no, but in general, I assume that this performance ultimately led to his being casted in Shawshank Redemption. They were like, we've seen what you can do in Howard the Duck, and buddy, this is the place for you.
Like, any award he's gotten since is really more of a, you're such a great actor, and we're giving it to you for this role because you really should have gotten it for that duck movie.
Exactly. So you could say they treated him foul. You think he won a Webby Award?
I feel like I could say either of those things, and I wouldn't, because I need to retain what little shred of dignity I still have.
You know, I'd say that role really paid his bills.
Oh, God.
So yeah. But basically once Tim, what's his name? Tim Robbins. Once Tim Robbins' character connects with these other scientists who have been working with this giant laser, they find out that Howard was pulled through a portal at the same time that they started running the laser, which means that the laser works and they can start pulling other people from other places.
This other scientist, by the way, played by Jeffrey Jones, who I had no idea was in this.
Yeah. Do you think that good friend of the show, Caprice, will be mad that we did a Jeffrey Jones show without her?
Furious. If she doesn't come back, y'all know why.
Yep.
We Jonesed illicitly.
Yeah.
It's a kind of gross joke to make.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I didn't know until
Context.
oh, yeah. Okay.
That's my context sound.
You're ruining the audio quality of this podcast. But yeah, he's in it, and he ends up playing the main bad guy for a while.
And then is no longer the main bad guy.
Yep, due to unexplained science.
It turns out the main bad guy is a miniature stop-motion puppet.
Yeah, as all bad guys are.
The real ills of the world.
So here's what happens. The laser malfunctions, and he becomes possessed by what do they call themselves? The dark overlords, which is a known reoccurring Marvel bad guy named Thog, one of those two. What?
I believe it.
Yep.
You sound very convinced.
Thanks. I couldn't remember the name, Thog, and so it's a thing. But you essentially see him going through this transformation, and Leah Thompson and Howard don't believe him in any way, shape, or form. He's like, I'm literally dying from the inside out, and they're like, you just need some water. It's almost a sad scene as he's like, my insides are being devoured, and they're like, you're so dramatic. Like, up until he starts shooting lasers from his skin, do they finally take him seriously? And there's that moment when he goes, I'm dead, and like the other entity takes over, and he's like, yes, I'm something else now. And I was like, oh no, you had to watch this guy slowly die.
Like, no one's helping him.
It's so but it leads to probably one of the best scenes in the whole movie, which is the diner scene. Yeah. Which I didn't know. So the waitress character, just credited as waitress, she had like a weird cult following where people were like, man, this breakout's like side character. She's like the Barb of this movie.
She's a great character.
She was very fun, and she had like a lot of personality. She even looks like Barb. Do you watch Stranger Things?
I saw the first season.
Okay.
I understand
so you know
the
who
reference.
Barb is,
yes,
then.
right. She's in a handful of scenes, and then
it gets no justice for Barb.
No justice for Barb.
But
the real ills of the world.
It's true.
Something I really liked about this diner is at a certain point it cuts to an exterior of the diner, and the big sign up top, it's the diner sign, and then over it somebody slapped Cajun, and then over that somebody slapped sushi.
Yep. Sometimes you just got to rebrand. Maybe they were canceled for a while.
Who was canceled? The diner?
Yeah.
The diner tweeted bad things. Cancel it.
Yeah. But I really liked this diner scene because of how bonkers it was.
Yes.
Like at a certain point, these truckers start making fun of Howard, and they decide that they're gonna cook him, and so they like start strapping him to a table, and they're like putting basil in his mouth and like sprinkling salt all over his body, and the only way that Howard gets free is that he essentially convinces the entity inside of Jeffrey Jones that they're laughing at him. I almost expected to hear the Carrie like, they're all gonna laugh at you. just like a little bit, which then leads to this crazy psychic destruction of this diner where he starts blasting people. You hear the Wilhelm scream all over the place, and he just starts ripping everything apart. I think that, to me, I'm glad I didn't remember this scene because I got to experience it again for the first time.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to take in, which beginning with, as you say, all of these ruffians, these no-goodniks, their immediate impulse when they see something unfamiliar to them is kill it and eat it.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating to me. That's not where my head would go. Like, even if I was so opposed to or terrified of the other or the perceived other, I don't think I would immediately jump to let's kill it and eat it.
I mean, it's what our ancestors would have done. You know, they're like,
Me unfamiliar must consume.
that's how we got apples.
Is it?
Yeah.
I suppose that's how we got any food, right? Somebody at a certain point had to go, oh, maybe I'll try eating that.
Yeah. I mean, we do it less so now because all of our food is just served to us.
Right.
You know?
Are we making new food? Like, are there new types of food yet to be discovered? Obviously, there are plenty of different combinations.
Right.
But those are combinations that of foods that we already know of.
Yeah.
Do you think somewhere, maybe one of the last patches of undestroyed Earth out there, like maybe where there's one of the remaining undiscovered tribes, do you think there's a food, some kind of new form of edible that we are not familiar with? Can you imagine if we found out, like, if you got a news alert on your phone, new food discovered, and you'd be like, I gotta know more about this. What does that mean? And it's just something that we don't have a word for yet. We got to be shown how to eat it and whatnot. I feel like that's a thing to live for. I'm gonna try and live until that happens.
I mean, I guess at that point it's a race between something new being discovered and the Earth essentially being destroyed by man. So who knows?
That's a good point. On a long enough timeline, all of the food is new again.
Yeah.
Because everything will have burned down and started over.
Right. Or everything is just part plastic. It's like now we got all these crazy plastic fish, and so you have to like cut around the plastic in order to eat the meat. Because that's the ocean that we've created.
That's pretty messed up and tragic.
I mean, that's the state of our world.
We really are, though. Like, right? In a sense, the people who try to kill and eat Howard are the most human characters in the movie.
Yep.
Because that's actually really they represent all of humanity, and Howard is the world.
Yeah, this podcast just got really deep.
Yeah.
Did
it?
Yeah. It got as deep as the ocean, which has all the plastic in it. Guys, I just need you to know that there's plastic in the ocean and there needs to be something done about it. Guys, stop buying plastic products.
Cut the little rings on your when you get your sody pop.
Yes, please.
Cut the little rings on there so you don't kill the fish.
Yeah. Anyways, so
it's a PSA. It's your environmental PSA. Green New Deal. Pew 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 pew.
But yeah. So then I feel like the movie from this moment on just goes completely off the rails.
Wait. The implication there is it was once on the rails.
It was somewhat on the rails in that, like, you had a goal. It was to get Howard home.
Right.
And then it just becomes a bonker, like, because from this point here, Leah Thompson gets kidnapped, and so you're hanging out with this transforming Jeffrey Jones.
Right.
But also you have this insane, unnecessary like police chase in which Howard and Tim Robbins are on this flying machine.
Yes, this flying sequence goes on for quite a while.
Yeah. Like we lost all concept of like and for some reason the way that time moves is changes. Like they get the flying machine at night and then it's daytime when they're on it, and like then Leah Thompson and the Dark Overlord, it's morning for them and they're at a power plant doing power stuff. Like what is happening?
Time works differently in the quantum realm.
That's true. It's a Marvel staple. Like it's being established right in this moment.
Yeah.
I
I guess you maybe that's where the Rancor monsters come from. We don't know. Like that laser seems to just arbitrarily open a portal. So for all we know, that's the quantum realm.
That's true.
Janet's in there. We got to go get her back.
Oh no, not Janet.
But like the movie we missed is when they get sucked back into the portal.
Yeah.
Fucking Michelle Pfeiffer's just got like a bow staff and has to fight them all using fucking quack foo and shit.
Hell yeah. I'd like to imagine like right before she was about to fight them, they started getting sucked away and she's like, woof, really avoided that fight. And then on the other side, Howard and them destroy the laser and they come back and she's like, God damn it, I just got comfortable.
That's the sound the staff makes when she hits them.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Duh. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, yeah, everyone meets back up in Laser Town, which is the facility, and we find out that there's this rad quantum laser that was made for the military, and 2, it is just powerful enough to remove a monster from a transformed human being.
Did they actually establish what the intended use of the laser was? Did I miss it, or did I not retain that information?
I mean, it was made for the military to wreck shit.
Yeah, so it was just a blow things up laser.
Yeah, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, bro. What else are lasers for? What else do you do with lasers other than wreck shit?
Listen to compact discs. CD-ROM.
Those didn't exist yet. You're like a decade too early.
ROM. Wasn't
Nope.
the first CD? I think the first CD that was ever released, like the first album ever released on compact disc, was Billy Joel album.
Maybe
52nd Street, is that what it's called?
Ugh.
It's the
I've
one
never
with,
heard a Billy Joel album in my life.
I think it's the one with Zanzibar on it.
Cool.
It's a good story.
Yeah. Wow. Riveting.
Yeah.
People at home, fact check Lex.
Like
let us know.
there's some trivia that's useless, and then there's some trivia that's useless.
Oh man, I remember really liking the design of the laser gun, like the military pew pew one, and I think that I remember having some kind of like, I think we were doing construction on our house or something, and I had found like a pole that also had like little holes in it. And so I was like, haha, I have the Howard gun. Because this was my jam. This was my jam when I was a kid. I was like, look at those crazy monsters. Look at that fun little duck. Ooh, baby, quack foo.
But when you were a little kid, like how young would you say? Like small kid, like 5?
No, way younger than that. Like by 3, maybe?
So you were watching
3 or 4?
So you were watching the movie where Leah Thompson tries to have sex with a duck at 3 years old.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that. I don't remember any of the sex stuff. I only remember him coming and the monsters and the laser.
That's a very ambiguous statement you just made.
To Earth. Him coming to Earth. He never came with Leah Thompson. She tried. She was like, yo, let's get some fucking.
And even
he's like,
Howard was super uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know if our anatomies work together. And also, yo, you coming on real strong. And she's like, look, I just want some duck peen. You know what I'm saying? Though, one of my favorite lines from this movie as an adult is when they're in the backstage area of the, like, where the band like it's in the band green room or whatever. And Tim Robbins shows up. He has pizza. And then he's talking to one of the girls and he's like, no sex, I'm working. That's what's tattooed on my back, yo.
No sex, I'm working.
Yeah, no sex, I'm working.
Oof.
Sometimes you're just too busy, bro. Sometimes you're just preoccupied. But same with Howard. He no sex. He was busy.
It's like, I'm doing tasks. I have no time for pleasures. I must accomplish my tasks.
Yeah, bruh. Yeah, I forgot all about. I don't even think, because at that age I didn't know what sex was.
Right.
So like, I just assumed like, if anything, slumber party.
She's really excited to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like don't think I had a concept of like any words that were being spoken. I think mostly it was all the visuals.
Right.
And so like I knew that there was a kid-sized duck walking around. I knew at some point he played a guitar, and I knew that at some point scary, scary monsters were coming through a tube, and he stopped them. Those were the only things I understood. I didn't know what a cigar was. I didn't know what a degenerate was. I didn't even understand what the 80s were, I guess. But this movie was painfully 80s, and it hurt me on the inside.
That aspect of it I actually found a bit charming.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It was maybe, I guess. Like, I liked the club stuff, like, because that felt like not nostalgic 80s, but like authentic 80s. Everything else just felt like they were trying real hard. They're fucking tryhards over there.
But it is genuinely a product of the 80s, right in the middle of the decade.
Right.
So it's not as if it's poserish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I guess. I wasn't there.
I mean, what year were you born?
Later than that.
Okay, cool. So us old folks, we
Not that much fucking later than that.
We old folks, we knew about the 80s. You know, we heard of Ronald Reagan. Have you heard of what else happened to the 80s?
A lot of cocaine.
Have you heard of cocaine? George Bush Sr.
Fucking cocaine and Duran Duran. That's it. That's all I know about the 80s.
Oh man. But yeah. So like that was the movie. That's the whole movie.
I do think what's interesting to me is the movies that I was reminded of most while watching Howard the Duck are movies that came out subsequently, and the two more than any others. One is Ninja Turtles, which we discussed earlier, and the other is the Bob Hoskins Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh really?
Yes.
I mean, I could see that. That one also had a very like it was specifically steampunk, but it also felt pretty 80s as well.
Yes, but that was early 90s, I believe.
Yeah. Definitely. That movie that movie was also a train wreck. Less I think to the degree that, or more so than Howard the Duck, because that one had source material that it just shat on. It was like, and also caused Bob Hoskins to drink.
I know, like
himself.
The interviews he gave later, he was talking about how they would be doing shots between takes all the time because they were just like, what is this? What are we doing? To be fair though, what is the story of Super Mario Brothers as far as the source material, right? Princess gets kidnapped and this plumber has to hop on stuff until he fights the dinosaur man and gets her back.
Well, if I remember correctly, I don't remember why this is in my brain, but the original, like everything that is Super Mario Brothers the movie was originally a different script, not Mario related, and then eventually the two movies became one in a way that just wasn't supposed to.
That makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah. So it was never supposed to be a Super Mario Brothers movie, but then they were just like, you know what? Why don't we just slap some stuff in there? This guy Goomba now. This guy fucking this is King Koopa. We'll just add a scene in there where they jump real high using steampunk belts.
Yoshi is a scary-looking velociraptor.
Yeah, exactly.
This ain't your dad's Yoshi, kids. This is the edgy, super hip, cool. It's the Poochie of Yoshis.
And it, too, went back to its original world. Lex Michael, do you have final thoughts about this movie before we head out?
We're done?
We're done, yes.
We could talk about Howard the Duck for hours and hours.
We could.
Do I have final thought? It's wild how far we've come in terms of big screen Marvel adaptations.
Yes.
I suppose is my big thought, because this is the weekend of Avengers Endgame, of course, and I mean, you've seen it.
I have. It's big and epic and ambitious.
I am looking forward. I really am looking forward to seeing what the animated series has in store. Hoping when Guardians Volume 3 finally happens, we get another Howard cameo. I would like to know. I would love, maybe just do it as a one-shot comic book, bridge the continuities between the two. So you go from that Howard the Duck movie, that point in the timeline, and you tell a little like one-shot story of how he goes from where we leave him at the end, like jamming out on stage and stuff, to being locked in the Collector's Museum.
Right. I can just tell you right now, the Collector was like, yo, I hear there was a dark overlord here. And Howard's like, nope, just me, a duck. And he's like, I'll take that instead. I'm Benicio del Toro. That's it. That's the whole, it's like 3 strips.
It's like a newspaper comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids, a newspaper was, before smartphones, they used to bring you a big bundle of paper with the news printed on it. And that's how you would know what was going on.
Oh, interesting.
And so there's a section, it's bigger on Sundays, where they'd have a bunch of different comic strips. Garfield, come on, everybody knows Garfield. Peanuts.
Oh.
Blondie.
Yep, you got it.
Fucking Marmaduke. All right, but no, that's my. I'm very curious to see what they do with the character going forward. This movie is an odd
duck.
I wasn't gonna do it.
You were gonna do it.
I walked right up to the cliff,
Yeah,
and I was
you
like,
did.
I'm not jumping off, and then you pushed me. It's a pretty strange watch. It's a lot of people, of course, the reputation of this movie, again, is that it was a massive failure, both critically and commercially. It's a bit enjoyable. It's actually a bit enjoyable to watch. If you go in, yes, calibrate your expectations.
Yeah.
Don't go in expecting Avengers Endgame, certainly, but it's real fascinating to watch, and especially through the prism of it is the first big screen Marvel Comics adaptation.
Yeah.
It's wild to me that that's where we started. And of all the characters to choose to adapt first, that they went with Howard the Duck.
Yeah. I think George Lucas was like, look, I don't want to spend any money on all these big guys.
It's like, people love ducks.
Yeah. It's proto Jar Jar.
Yeah, it's like, why do you think I put that mouth snout on Jar Jar? It's because people love ducks.
Mm-hmm.
It's my revenge.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of fun moments. I think that at the time people just didn't know what to do with it. I think that we in this current age are exposed to a lot more just absurd content, and so I think that we can appreciate it on that level as well. And I think that, yeah, it definitely borrows from a lot of movies. Like, that end sequence was definitely like, hey, have you guys seen Back to the Future? So I get it. I think that it almost is as if a bunch of executives were like, this is before people started doing a lot of demographic things, but they're like, these worked from these other movies. And the 80s was all about fish out of water tales. Just watch Star Trek 4 or 5.
4 is the one where they've gone back in time to then present day Earth, and something about whales.
Yep, they got to go get whales, and it's a dumb fish out of water 80s movie.
I remember that one actually being pretty good, right? Like, if you could buy into the premise that some crucial signal is identical to a whale call,
Yeah.
once you buy into that, it's pretty solid.
Still
Good movie.
dumb, though. Still dumb, Lex Michael.
I didn't write it.
But what if you did? What if we go and look at the credits and it's like, Lexation Michael?
I'd be like, where's my fucking check?
You don't get it.
Where are my
It's
residuals?
future you, bro.
That's
It's time travel works differently. You can't affect your own timeline.
But now my past is my future, and my future is my eyes are crossing.
But guys, if you watched Howard the Duck, what did you think about it? Do you feel like it's a cult classic? Do you feel like it was too absurd for your own tastes? What are your thoughts?
Were you able to process what you were saying? I struggled occasionally to process what was happening before my eyes. I do feel like they could have cut down that flying sequence by about an hour.
Yeah, I agree.
And I was having a difficult time like the number of times Tim Robbins almost falls off the plane.
Yes. I think they could have just cut the whole thing out and had them take a fucking car, because they literally got to where they were by just Jeffrey Jones driving crazily for like 2 minutes.
Right.
So it wasn't that far, guys. You could have walked. You could have walked with your own 2 feet, but they had to make all the dumb duck flying jokes. So why not? Why not have them do it? Why not have it be an hour and a half? I'm not upset. You're upset. Just get to the cool laser gun. Just get to it. Get to the more grabby creatures. Show me the creatures.
I will say though, I think it's worth checking out if you're a comics fan, if you're a fan of any of the Marvel movies of late. I think it's worth checking out as an oddity. Yeah. As an interesting piece of history that I would argue is more than just a footnote. I would argue that regardless of how successful or not you find the movie to be creatively, it's a pretty pivotal moment in the history of comic book cinema, insofar as, again, first time you saw that amount of money poured into a big screen adaptation of a Marvel property.
Yeah, I'd agree. Guys, let us know your thoughts. Let us know how you feel about that sweet, sweet duck sauce.
Ew.
You're yourself. Let us know on Twitter at MissingOutcast, MissingOutcast, or you can hit up Lex Michael directly at
the Lex Michael on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Or you can hit me up at Tauri, TAURIJAY. We hope that you had a wonderful weekend. We hope that you enjoyed Endgame if you watched it. If you didn't, hey, go. Stop whatever you're doing and just go watch it.
Based on box office numbers, you probably saw it.
Probably. I think our demographic definitely has some overlap with people who are definitely into that nerd shit.
Fucking dumbass costume flying dumb bullshit.
It's hard. I could barely force the words out facetiously.
I could see it.
It's painting me.
It was your eyes are bleeding blood.
That's what they would bleed.
But we will talk to you next. Oh, we won't talk to you next week. Next week we are off, but we will be back the week after. So until then, this has been the retrospective. That's introspective.
And now you have a new perspective.
It's like you took a refreshing drink. Gluck, 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 gluck,
Quack,
gluck.
quack. Quack, quack, y'all.
Splash dance.
Ha, 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 ha.
Okay.
Did you know a turkey puppet once ran for the presidency of Ireland? Did you know that meat once rained from the skies of Kentucky? Did you know that there was an emperor of the United States for a while? Then listen to the Wiki Ship Down podcast.
We live in an age when the sum total of humanity's knowledge can be found in your pocket on a smartphone at any given time. But when that knowledge is peer editable, like it is on Wikipedia, what does that say about mankind? So follow us down the digital rabbit hole as we drink, joke, and curse our way through the random button on Wikipedia and see where our journey through humanity's knowledge takes us.
While you're at it, follow us on all social media at Wiki Ship Down. I'm Ruth Ann.
I'm Ryan, and be sure to find us every Wednesday on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to podcasts.